When you talk of something being hard, it means something that is like getting out of your hands, something that you find difficult to hold together. That is motherhood for you. Do you know that it starts with number one, when you carry that child? You don't know how the child is coming. You don't know what the child may be. You don't know how the child will react when he's getting old. These ones are hard, but yet not the hardest. But when this child comes and you start to nurture, the hardest part of it is, as a mother, you will have certain things that you have outlined for your children. Like, for instance, I want my child to be this, I want my child to be this, I want my child to be that. But all of a sudden, in this world, they start to face some challenges. Oh my God. Their journey that is supposed to be smooth, with all the hopes that you have of them, you discover that you will need to now, all over again, be a prayer warrior for them, an intercessor for them. Why? Because you want them to achieve that aim. But you cannot do it on your own. You start to pray to God, and this our God is a very dynamic God. Sometimes you expect him to act immediately. My Papa God will say, no, not yet. This is the hardest one for me as an individual. When you think you have placed this thing in the hands of God concerning the child, and all of a sudden it's like the thing is dragging. Probably a child is sick, and you are praying for that child to receive healing, the hospitals and everything, and nothing is coming up. It is a very hard time. And the most sorrowful one is for any woman to lose a child. Even people who have miscarriage, they sorrow a lot over it. Losing a child, a baby, let's say a fetus, about 2 months, you will see how some women will break down. And it's not their fault. The hardest part of it is for someone to lose a child. The sorrow will be so much. People may sympathize with you, but they cannot be in your shoes because the child never belonged to them. We were digging deep, one of our programs in the church, and one elderly man, a grandpa, was telling us that around past 2 in the night, he has this cherry tree in his garden. And that's about 20 minutes past 2, that a woman was walking all by herself, and she was talking to herself. It was a few days later that grandpa said he got to know that it was because that woman lost her only child in the hospital and had to come home, trekking all the way from the hospital. This is the hardest time, the most sorrowful time for you to look at somebody and say, I'm so sorry, I cannot be in your shoes, but I can feel for you. But you cannot say, I understand what you are passing through. It is not possible, because that child was never yours. What of all the hopes? What of all the aspirations? What of all those things that you have built up for the child? What of some money that you have spent on the child? What of some sterling qualities in that particular child? How are you going to get them back? That is the hardest and the most sorrowful time. But when you talk of other things, they may be hard. Raising the children, expecting them to be brilliant in school, and some of these children can be late starters, that may be difficult. There are some of them that can go wayward. There are some of them that can walk away from faith. That one also is hard, but not as hard as the one that I just told you. So when you talk of the hardest, we have hardest. To an individual, her own may just be hard, but she may think that she has the hardest. But when you see another person to ask her, they should be able to tell you the hardest part of our own life.